So, but I was still under my
Once I
calories though.
sleeping, then-
Yeah. So I was under, but I'm actually. What's interesting is when we left work, I knew I was going to have a couple months off, so I was just like, I'm going to stay with it because I don't want to have to lose too much before I go back to work. But I was like, if I gain 5 or 10 pounds, I can lose that in like 3 weeks and then be
Right.
back to work. And we had speculation that we were going to be back. There's a big story to this.
Tell it.
So, for all the Days fans out there, so essentially what happened is I'll even go to the bigger story.
Okay.
So, traditionally, when signing a contract, we get, and it starts different when you're new. When I was new, I was signed on a 4-year contract, which is unheard of these days because every year Days is like, are we going to go? Are we going to go? But back in 2011, they must have had a 4-year contract with NBC. So I got a 4-year deal. But in my first year, they give you 13-week cycles. So they guarantee you 13 weeks 4 times a year. That's the 52 weeks. Where I can't leave if I wanted, but the show can give me a 6-week written notice or a phone call and say, hey, we're not going to pick you up after your next 13 weeks. And it allows them to kind of test out new people and have a little freedom with it. Well, now that I've been on the show longer, you eventually get to the segment where they give you 2 26-week cycles. So when I sign, I know I'm guaranteed for 26 weeks, and then if they don't let you go, you're guaranteed that back end 26 weeks. So essentially, you're going to get a year. But what I never thought they could do, which because I'm still an amateur compared to people who've been there for 25 years, when we got a call in July, I was already past the threshold in the sense that I was like, I'm going to get this next 26 weeks. I didn't know they could extend in the amendment of the contract the first 26 weeks and just push it out. So they just extended my first, didn't renew the second, and didn't renew anybody else's second. And that's why we're all off the contract. But then the speculation started, well, when are we going to go back? Is it going to be right after Thanksgiving? Is it going to be Christmas? There has been 2 months, 5 months, this huge thing everywhere. But the one thing I stuck to is a little conversation that I had 3 years ago when I came back to the show. It was like the end of my first year, and my contract was up like January 26th. And I remember getting a call from the producer, and he was like, we want to renew you for another year. But before we do, we want to extend this year's contract 1 month so that it ends on February 26th. This way, your personal contract, Freddie Smith, is in the same cycle as NBC and Days, I believe it was. So maybe Days has a contract with, or NBC with Days or Sony, however that works. There was something significant about February 26th so that my contract and the show's is all lined up. That seems to be way easier than people's. Because another thing,
sense.
if you think about a power couple like Will and I, if his contract's up, say, June, and mine's in September,
What are you gonna do?
and
storyline?
someone's gonna
Yeah.
someone's gonna leave, or someone's gonna, like, it's probably better for the show to have as many people as possible all on the same cycle.
Of course.
So in my mind, I go, there's a good chance we're not gonna come back till February 26th, because why would we come back sooner? But then we heard through the grapevine it's gonna be January 13th.
It's what, the 7th?
It's the
today?
8th. This will be airing on the 9th, but there's no way we're going back.
Let's see
On
what
the 13th.
day the 26th is. It's a Wednesday.
Well, that's when the contract would start, so I'm
Right.
sure it would be whatever. But here's more of my theories, because I have fun with this kind of stuff. It means nothing. I know we got renewed. We're all coming back. The
Right.
way the story ends, like,
Right.
it's not like, but they let us all go on contract.
Right.
So the writers can't start writing if they don't know if the 25 series regulars are coming back. I'm not legally obligated to come back. I mean, I am.
Right.
Everyone probably will. But in the back of your mind, you got to think, I got to call 25 series regulars, most, if not all, who have agents. And I have to deal with, well, I love this deal, but let me get back to you in 2 days and negotiate and do all this stuff so that they know they can write. How are they going to spend money on writing a story that's integral with Sunny before I say yes? So they got to
Gotta
call
call
us,
soon.
sign all 25 of us, then get the writers to start writing, which is going to take weeks.
So my guess would be that next week they'll call everyone, get yeses. Hopefully everyone says yes. And then the following week, the writers will begin.
We'll start, and I think we'll go back mid-February
Mid-February.
or the last week of February.
Makes sense.
Which, it is what it is. But,
Be
we
nice
just
to
have.
know.
I talked to one castmate, and that person hadn't heard anything. We're submitting for the Emmys, so we were getting all that stuff taken care of. I talked to publicity,
Right.
and I was like, "Hey, have you heard anything?" They haven't heard anything, so it's nothing personal. It's just whatever's
Right.
going on. But
You're also in an interesting boat, though, because you don't have representation. You do it all yourself. So normally you could call your agent right now and be like, hey, can you see what info you can get?
and they
You
would
call them
kind
up
of know.
and feel things out.
But I don't think they would let anyone know though, because it's
Probably
just
not.
there is. But what's interesting is that we just don't know, because it's just probably isn't either. They're not able to, or whatever it may be. But there's so many people involved in Sony and NBC and
Yeah.
in Corday and there's so much involved in us. Well, we're all employees, all the cast, all the crew. Like we're like,
I mean, they obviously
when those
have,
checks coming again?
They have a master plan because they're a well-oiled machine. They know what they're doing and how to handle this. It's just you as an actor. You're just waiting by the phone because that's essentially what actors do.
Yeah.
Employees. So
Well, and that's how we and that's the name of the game. That's how everybody
crazy.
we've been spoiled, because I haven't had to wait by the phone, but like all the actors all our friends who aren't in soaps don't have a they have those bouts of 3 months where you're waiting for the phone to ring.
man, that's got to just be what a lifestyle until you get to a point where you're okay waiting. I'm talking like big time.
But that's what I've always been doing ever since 2013, when we did the web series, and then
Yeah.
everything we've done since is all because I cannot, if and when Days is ever done, just sit around and get one call every 6 weeks from my agent to go out for a 39-year-old dad from Texas. And I'm like, I'm not really 39. They're like, just go see the
meet the
casting director. You never know.
Yeah.
But I don't really do a good Southern accent. Oh, let me hear it. Down here in Texas, we got our that'll work. Just go see them. And then I go there. They're just like, he was great. He was just a little young.
Obviously.
But I will say that theory worked on my first role. I went in for, what was the show called? Something 23 maybe? Was there something called 23?
Not that I recall.
There was I went in for another role. This was in 2007. That's why I don't remember. Or maybe the age was 23 of the character and I was 19. That's why I'm thinking that. Numbers. The show was called Numbers, I think. We'll have to look that up. But anyway, I read for this role of in the show Numbers. I was a little too young. I was 19 at the time. I think the role was like 21 or 23. Maybe that's why I remember that number. And the casting director goes, "You're too young for this role, but I'm casting the role of senior boy in the show Medium. I think you'd be great for that. Can you come back in 15 minutes and read that role?" And I think I came back in 15 minutes. I read that role, and then they called me back to producers. But if I didn't go in for,
But that happens.
So
too. You just never know.
exactly. So it actually did work for me. But it just is the whole point is that I don't feel uneasy. I'm excited to get back to work because I want to continue telling that story. I want to continue, creating that our financial plan that we have set in motion, and that's going to throw the gasoline on the fire again. And
Of course.
but the fact that we have our podcast, that we have our brands and other things that we work on, I'm not sitting around twiddling my thumbs, like going out of my mind.
You could never. It's not in your DNA. You always have to have some project you're working on. I'm the same. I can't just sit around.
No. Well, we have the capabilities of actually doing that these days.
I know.
30 years ago, you couldn't really do anything. We have the capability of doing that. So, but anyway, so yeah, everything's all good. And it's going to give me some extra time too, because I really want to be able to do some shirtless scenes, and I want to get in shape. So it's like, even if it does take another 6 weeks, it's just going to be that I'll be that much more ripped the longer I wait. Not that shirtless scenes will be right away. But that'll be really good to give me some time and
Yeah, buddy.
be done with that. So
Well, we will keep everyone updated on that.
Well, yeah, I'll do a video as soon as I hear.
know.